Hello and welcome to another Reaconteur video, and in today's video I'll be going over the lore of the various bosses in Deepwoken and explaining why that lore makes no sense. Make sure to subscribe since only about 20% of the people watching right now are actually subscribed, and now let's get straight into it. Starting with the Duke as the first boss, since it's the first boss that most people fight. In lore, the Duke was a Seltorian man who lived in the new lost city of Seltor. Upon the drowning of this city, the Duke Arisia, whose real name is either Duke Ishaman of Arisia or Duke Ishaman Arisia, or Duke Ishaman Arisia of Arisia in Arisia. I'm not joking. Archmage said all three of those at different times, and based on the way that lots of you like to perceive lore, anything Archmage says is canon. So I will be now referring to the Duke of Arisia as the Duke of Arisia. Anyway, at another time, while the Duke of Arisia was in the depths, at some point he awakened his bell, which is the power he uses to create his golems by embedding them with souls. We also know that the Mudskipper slave NPCs he has fight for him are soulless husks, meaning his bell ability is likely the ability to steal and imbue souls into inanimate objects to give them life, much like the golems and his husks, which are proof of this. We also know his main objective is to take down the Ministry, but the only problem is he kinda kills a lot of people and murdered everyone in Arisia, turning them into mindless husks and stone golems. Now, first of all, one thing that I don't like is that when the Duke dies, he says, "That city could never hold me," upon clear refightings. So if you come back to him after beating him, he'll say that, right? Now that's a clear reference to somewhere in the depths. But what's funny is that he's not clearly talking about any specific layer of the depths, which currently there are two cities. Seltor, which has some rough civilizations, and is also actually the city he originally lived in, so he could be talking about Seltor. It would make sense thematically. But then there's also New Kirsa, the city in Layer 2, Floor 2, inhabited by the Kiersguards. Now, in lore, all the layers of the depths we can't access still exist, so it's possible he's talking about New Kirsa from the very beginning, because he was even saying that before Layer 2 came out, but Layer 2 did exist at this point in time, we the player just couldn't access it. So I believe he's held in Seltor after dying, because before we had Layer 2 access, he said that, but there's no way that, it's kind of confirmed. We don't know if he actually goes down to Seltor or New Kirsa, but we have seen NPCs like Kenneth and the goat Captain Orlando down in New Kirsa, which implies that the Duke's soul is either equal to or less than in strength than Kenneth's soul, meaning Kenneth is potentially stronger than the Duke of Arisia, which isn't hard to believe. Realistically, the player is stronger than the Duke of Arisia, but for some reason, we can't go down to New Kirsa on death, so who knows what's going on here. But it really wouldn't make sense for him to not be going down to New Kirsa, considering his strength, and if he does go down to Seltor upon death, that would mean NPCs like Kenneth are actually stronger than the Duke, which is just a very strange plot hole or weird power scaling or something. I don't know. Anyway, as for the next boss, someone else who wants to stop the drownings, but much more nobly, the Maestro Evangard. This lore may be retconned, like everything else I contest in these videos, but the Maestro Evangard is at his strongest, is within the top 5 humanoid entities in Etris that we know of, and have information about at the very least. His Tempest Eye ability does make him stronger than the current Lord Regent, even in his chair, which greatly empowers him. Now, last time I talked about this, I got a dumb answer. So the question I asked was, why doesn't he just go kill the Lord Regent? It's not like his Tempest Eye is very hard to activate, but I got a comment saying, well, it requires specific activation, so he would need that specific activation to go fight the Lord Regent, so he can't kill him because he can't activate it. But you literally activate it in the fight by spitting on him. By this logic, there's one of 3 activation requirements for him to use it. Either 1, he has to get really angry, 2, he has to specifically be spit on, or 3, he has to feel disrespected in some way and try to restore his honor, which I think is actually, it's probably the 3rd one, because one of the things that you get if you lose to him is the flaw, I think honor bound or dishonored or something like that, where you have to beat him to restore your honor. So what if he feels the same way? Whenever he is dishonored, he then has to go into full power mode to feel stronger to restore his honor, Which, if it's that easy, you're telling me, he can't get angry enough at the Lord Regent or feel disrespected enough by the Lord Regent who is destroying the world to unleash his true power and kill him? And if he needs to be spit on, why doesn't he just have someone follow him around and spit on him to activate it before killing the Lord Regent? Or even better, we the player, right? We were like, oh, we're gonna go to war. We don't actually need you at your full power. We definitely do need him at his full power, right? So we go to the Lord Regent, we're gonna go kill him, and then before you do it, you spit in his face, and before he kills you, you're like, no, kill him! I did it to activate your Tempest Eye, and boom, he kills the Lord Regent, The only other side of why he hasn't killed the Lord Regent yet is to prevent the Authority from trying to take over Etris by using this as an advantage. But if he kills the Lord Regent and then rallies their armed forces against the Authority, then they could definitely win. And I'm sure most Etrians wouldn't mind the Lord Regent being executed, since nobody really likes him, and, you know, they would also find out that he was using his chair powers and his booty print in the chair to mind control them. One more thing about Maestro, but apparently he has, like, homophobic eyes. That's not cool, man. It's something like that. Next up is the Ferryman. This guy's entire lore is that he's just a big asshole. He lures people in, saying those who come to him he will grant treasures, but then he challenges them to fights with the intent to kill, knowing he's much stronger than them. So yeah, he's one of, like, the two bosses just born out of hatred, which is very strange considering what he is, which he is a Krulian, which is a nearly extinct race at this point as far as we know. And regardless, he was born from tons of souls coming together in the depths, and since he was mistreated by people in the overworld, he hates mortals and now torments them given the chance. So basically his entire lore is he's racist. Now, another thing that's really dumb is, right, in the lore, like, purple and pink colored attunements signify mastery, but according to Archmage, the Ferryman doesn't have purple lightning, he has pink lightning, just a few shades different, and he only chose it because it looks cool. Like, how are you gonna do that, Archmage? Like, why would you do that? Everyone thinks it's so cool. Oh, he's a master of the Thunder Call. And then Archmage is like, no, he just chose that color because it looks cool. Like, are you being serious? And if he can just freely change his attunement color, why can't I? I want pink lightning. I want brown piss-colored Gale. Why can he do this, but I can't? He's also bisexual. Now, I don't believe this, though. I don't have a problem with it, but I just don't believe it. Seeing as how he is racist towards everyone, I don't believe he likes women or men. I think he just likes blood. He's also canonically a Metallica fan, as he was at the event, which kind of proves that he is definitely not bisexual, because Metallica fans don't get anything. Just nothing. Now, this does mean two things. First of all, he is the best Deepwoken boss, and he is also equally racist as the average Metallica fan, so he is very on brand, and I do respect him for that. Next is the Primadon, aka the biggest disappointment in the entire game. Now, you may think that's Kaido, but Kaido isn't a disappointment because we all know the fight sucks. This boss really is a shame because we can't climb on his back or anything to do damage or do anything cool. He's basically just a big Sharko, and it's just so disappointing because they even put the Attack on Titan music on it just for us to not get ODM gear. Regardless, his lore is nothing, really. I can't find any lore regarding him. He's just a monkey and we're in his stomping grounds. The fight is a disappointment, though, with him just being Large Sharko instead of, like, huge Titan, Attack on Titan boss I can climb and kill and stuff. I just really wish he was cooler. Which is why I was saying they should add that King Sharko boss I had the idea for, where he's huge and you climb the coral on his back to get up to his face and scratch his eyes or something, you know? I have a lot of really good ideas that will never be implemented. Next is Chaser. This guy is the Roblox equivalent of, like, Gold Experience Requiem's Infinite Death Loop. Chaser is in Layer 2, Floor 1, which has weird time-altering properties, making all the events reset at the end of the day or something. Even though there's no day or night cycle here, it just kind of resets after a certain amount of time, I guess. Regardless, the Chaser is searching for New Kirsa, and for some reason he doesn't go there sooner. He canonically makes his escape at the end of the boss fight, but for some reason still he resets in time despite already escaping to New Kirsa. Now, not only that, but why exactly doesn't he just go to New Kirsa sooner? He knows it's under the tower and he wants to get there, so why not just go? He has no reason to fight you. He's already found his goal. He's doing it just to be an asshole, and the worst part is that he's not even that strong. Like, you shouldn't be trying to fight like that. Both Claris and, questionably, but Archmage says Akira, who is in fact on Fraud Watch, are supposed to be significantly stronger than him. The only reason why they don't kill him is because of the weird time loop protecting him. But then why not bring him back? When the player fights Chaser, he runs away, but if you could subdue him somehow with, you know, one of the 20 mantras in the game that kind of, like, stops people from doing things, and then, like, bring him back to the first layer of the depths, I'm pretty sure you could stop him from getting time looped again. Regardless, his motives for fighting you make no sense, and neither do Claris's own reasoning for not retrieving him. And the player escapes the time loop as soon as we're out of the first floor of Layer 2, so I doubt Chaser is special enough to be forced into Layer 2, Floor 1 for eternity. It's just kinda dumb when you really think about it. It just shouldn't exist that way. Anyway, next up is Kaido. This boss was first formed when a man seeking knowledge ate the heart of an Eden Kite. And the Eden Kites are like these weird dragon things, and eating their hearts bestows thee with infinite knowledge, which overloads the brain like infinite void, but it also fills you with all the dread and sorrow that comes with knowing everything in the universe. And all the dread that he felt from that made him change and evolve into the first ever Dread Serpent. Now, I really don't like this boss's lore because it doesn't really make too much sense. The first ever person to turn into a Dread Serpent had to eat an Eden Kite's heart in order to do so. That they had to feel the despair of knowing everything that will ever happen in the entire conceivable universe. That is how much despair and sorrow it takes to turn into a Dread Serpent, right? However, subsequent Dread Serpents haven't done that. Otherwise, there would be nowhere near as many Dread Serpents as there would be in the Void Sea. So are you guys implying that living in the world of Deepwoken modern day is the equivalent to the Dread put into someone who gains infinite knowledge of the universe? And if it only took one Dread Serpent to kind of make them more common, so now it's like easier to turn into a Dread Serpent, how does that make sense? One guy got really sad. So sad, in fact, he turned into a lizard. So now people who aren't as sad as him, but are still really sad, can also turn into lizards. I would believe it more if you just told me the Eden Kites were evolving into Dread Serpents, or if there was only one Dread Serpent in lore like most of the other bosses. Or, I don't know, maybe the Eden Kites are, some of them get cannibalistic and they eat the hearts and evolve or something. But the fact that there are supposedly hundreds of Kaido doesn't really make much sense to me based on how the first one was made. And also, if this was realistic, every homeless man on the streets of Etris would have turned into Godzilla by now. So I don't know what could be going on here. Next up, in the last main boss, we have the Scion of Etheron. This thing is pretty much a fraction of the Drowned God Etheron's power, and while the real Etheron sleeps, and so does the Scion, it is in a little bit of control, like, subconsciously over New Kirsa and stuff. And then the Kyr's guards are trying to keep it asleep because then it could destroy the entirety of New Kirsa, which is the city they live in, which is why some of them attack you, and then the others attack you because they're under mind control. You know, they don't want you going in to fight it, because even if you're strong enough to beat it, you're still going to destroy the entire city they live in, which is in fact what you do every time you run Layer 2. You basically commit a nuclear godly genocide every time you finish Layer 2 Floor 2, so just think about that. With that being said, the Kiersguard aren't naturally hostile, which is how Kenneth is dating a Kiersguard woman. Which, you know, W Kenneth, IFW it. Anyway, back to Etheron, who is the drowned god of Gale, but for some reason has the ability to mind control people. We know that because Etheron's special gas controls the Kiersguard, making some of them try to kill you for that reason, because he kind of just commands them to in his sleep or something, or makes them hostile. Anyway, for some reason, being able to control wind means you can control the mind, I guess? Maybe it's because, like, you need air, so breathing in Etheron's air makes it circulate to your brain or something, and he uses the air, oxygen in your brain to control you or something. I'm trying my hardest to stretch this to make it make sense by any means, but it's really hard, man. The Scion of Etheron really doesn't have much lore, so why don't I do a little bit of mini-boss discussion? Now let's just... the Enforcer. I want to talk a bit about the Enforcer. The Enforcer is born when strong souls die in the Depths Trial, meaning that every time your Power 20 slot dies in a Depths Trial, your character becomes an Enforcer, meaning it is quite likely you've had characters that have killed your old slots of yours. I do have one problem with this, though. If my soul is being reincarnated into my next slot, then where's the Enforcer coming from? Because it's supposed to be born from the twisted, malevolent souls of people who died in the trials. Is it born from energy from my soul? Is it my soul, but then my next character happens to have a different soul? What is going on here? Where is the soul in question? What is happening to the soul in question? I want more details on how the Enforcers are born, Archmage. Just doesn't make too much sense. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. I love you all, of course, as usual. Shoutouts to Goopka, Drizzy Drake Fan, and Cyberboy21. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If I missed anything or you think there's more lore that doesn't make sense about some of these bosses, leave it down in the comments section down below. For the people that are gonna be like, oh, but this lore makes sense, shut up, I don't care. These videos are for fun. You're a nerd. I love you all, though, and goodbye.